Hey everybody, I miss you very much. I hope you're doing well. Today I wanted to be in touch with you to give you a little bit more of a substantive and a little bit more of a long-term update in terms of what we know, what we still don't know, and what our expectations can be for our life together in the coming months at St. Mark's. For the time being, we remain under stay-home orders in the city of Austin that are currently mandated to be in effect through May 8th. In addition to that, the Episcopal Diocese of Texas has still formally prohibited all public gatherings for worship through May 11th. We also know that the executive order issued by the governor yesterday does not make any material difference for the churches in the Episcopal Diocese of Texas. We do not know whether or not stay-home orders will be extended in the coming weeks or not, but the bigger update is this, and that's that one thing that has become pretty clear over the recent weeks and has been passed down to us from the bishops who have been in touch with many local public health authorities and governmental authorities, is this, that whenever those stay-home orders are lifted, our life at St. Mark's and our church life is not going to just snap back to normal like it was 6 or 7 weeks ago. Instead, we are now preparing for a much more gradual and kind of phased approach for being able to gather together in person again. Now, the letter that is going along with this video is longer and has lots more kind of concrete details. If you're interested in that, I would encourage you to read those letters, but the gist of it is this, that we're basically looking at 3 phases looking forward. The first phase is the phase that we're currently in, the stay-home phase, where the highest priority is to flatten the curve so that our medical facilities will retain the capacity to treat everybody who needs treated. The highest priority is to slow the spread of the virus. Once we move past phase 1, phase 2 is when physical gatherings, in-person gatherings, will be allowed again. But what we know about phase 2 is that it's going to be a process, and it's going to be evolving and somewhat complicated, meaning that it will probably involve first opening up, giving permission for very small groups of people to meet, like groups of 10, and then increasing over time to groups of 50 and perhaps more. But even still, those physical gatherings, in-person gatherings, will probably still be expected to practice physical and social distancing, along with other kind of public health and public hygiene practices that will each be determined by each kind of local context. Another thing we know about phase 2 is that it will be rolled out differently in different cities. And so the rules that are in Austin are going to be different than the rules that are in LaGrange, are going to be different than the rules that are in College Station and Houston, etc., etc. In order for us to transition from phase 1 to phase 2, 2 things need to happen. The first thing that needs to happen is that there needs to be 14 consecutive days of decreasing infection rates in our city, not in the state, not in the country, in our city. And so the current infection rates in Austin, though they are flattening, are still increasing. So as long as that continues to happen, we are always at least 2 weeks away from being able to potentially gather together in person. The second thing that needs to happen is that for any gatherings to happen, we need to obtain the permission of our regional bishop, in our case, the Right Reverend Kay Ryan, who was with us just a couple months ago. The point of that is so that she can work with me to ensure that we have the capacity to adhere to all the guidelines and expectations of the city. One other thing to know about phase 2 is that in phase 2, we will be living with the possibility that infections will start to rise again. And if that happens, we can expect for more shelter-in-place or stay-home orders to come across. So it's very possible that we will be living in some kind of back-and-forth rhythm, what some people are calling the hammer and the dance, meaning that we will be allowed to go out in public with lots of kind of restrictions and precautions in place, and then if the infection rate spikes, then we'll be expected to kind of shelter again. So that's phase 2, and in large part we don't know yet what phase 2 is going to look like and what consequences that's going to have for what we're able to do and not do at St. Mark's. Because we don't know if it's 10 people or 50 people or what the expectations will be about facilities use and all that stuff. We just don't know. So we'll obviously be in touch with you. Know that the staff and I are working hard and brainstorming, and we have Bibles and pews and face masks and measuring tapes, and we're trying to figure out what our options will be and to troubleshoot those options in advance so we're as prepared as possible. Now, the hardest piece of all of this, I think, is needing to talk about phase 3. Now, phase 3 is when all activities are able to return to normal, when we will see the lifting of all the prohibitions and restrictions that characterize phase 2. But in order for us to enter into phase 3, the components of that phase are that we have negative community spread of the virus and that we have the widespread availability of a vaccine. Which means, in other words, that phase 3 is a step in large part that the whole world needs to take together. And the hard part of that is that, according to the best of our current knowledge, we are at least 12 to 18 months away from phase 3. So it means that our life is going to look different for some time. And that's something for us to grieve. It's something for us to mourn. But it is also time for us to imagine and to reinvigorate our spiritual lives and to learn to look for God in new and creative ways. And we are not abandoning you to do that alone. We are constantly evolving still, and we're still thinking of ways to kind of iterate and improve what we're doing. One thing we do know, that as physical gatherings are able to, as we're able to gather physically in some forms in phase 2, we know that we will continue to offer all manner of virtual gatherings, both worship and study groups and coffee groups and all these types of things. So as physical gatherings are possible, we're not going to take virtual gatherings away. Those are going to be with us for some real time. So yeah, that's it. There's a lot more details in the letter, so I encourage you to read that. But I thought it would be good to also just do a video version of this. Know that I personally have received this news with a bit of a heavy heart. It's pretty hard to swallow the potential reality of thinking about not being together in big groups for that long. So yeah. If you have a heavy heart right now, know that I do too, and I'm with you. I would just ask you for now to pray for me, to pray for our community, to pray for your own family, and know that I'm praying for you too. Much love. Bye.